The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are simply that, opinions. All are presumed innocent until proven otherwise in a court of law. Sensitive topics are discussed. Discretion is advised.
I touched Johnny Depp's hand. I was really lucky.
This is the most painful and difficult thing I've ever gone through.
This was a very personal lawsuit for him.
Mr. Depp is your victim, isn't he?
No, ma'am.
This is about trying to convince not just 7 people, but the whole world that you're the victim and that the other person is the perpetrator.
You have the best reputation amongst all the press. You know that? Is that right? Yeah.
Oh my God.
Everyone loves dealing with you.
Strange when one day you're Cinderella, so to speak, and then in 0.6 seconds you're Quasimodo.
This is a man who tried to kill me. Of course, it's scary. He's also my husband.
He's the victim. She is not. I don't believe that for a second.
I was hitting you. It was not punching you. Babe, you're not punched.
Don't tell me what it feels like to be punched.
I have faith that history won't look back on what we've done to her kindly.
Help the world, Johnny. Help him, Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp, man, I'm a victim too of domestic violence.
Yes.
Johnny Depp and Amber Heard's entire 10-year relationship played out in the public eye. What once started as a Hollywood love story quickly turned toxic, which pushed the A-listers from the silver screen to a televised courtroom drama in Fairfax, Virginia. I'm Ted Rollins. This is Victim to Verdict, Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard. After dropping out of high school at the age of 16, Johnny Depp set off to Los Angeles to pursue a career in music. He would end up hitting it big in Hollywood. At first, as a teen heartthrob, landing roles in movies and television, including the role of Tom Hansen in Fox's 21 Jump Street.
I was just trying to keep you from ruining your career, all right? Tom, don't walk away from me.
You sold me out, and my captain got suspended because of it.
Johnny Depp would become a household name and a global superstar after he was cast as Captain Jack Sparrow in Disney's Pirates of the Caribbean.
When you look at this, the magnitude of this event that your movie has created, what word comes to mind?
Insanity.
He had transitioned from the time of being a young heartthrob to then being a huge Disney star. So he really struck every chord. He's exactly what you want to be if you want to be a Hollywood A-lister.
Not only were fans invested in Johnny Depp's movies, but they also became interested in his personal life and his high-profile relationships, which over the years included Winona Ryder, Kate Moss, and Ellen Barkin.
The friendship went from a purely platonic friendship to a romantic one.
Johnny Depp is Hollywood's ultimate it boy. I mean, he was a TV star that transitioned into a movie star who decided to become a musician on top of all of that. Everybody wanted to be him or date him. He was just Hollywood's mega hunk.
In 2009, on the set of the movie The Rum Diary, a then 46-year-old Johnny Depp met an up-and-coming actress, 23-year-old Amber Heard.
She didn't really sort of get mainstream acclaim until she starred in the 2008 stoner comedy Pineapple Express with Seth Rogen and James Franco. And that's where you can really see her career starting to make waves, which then ultimately led to the 2011 film The Rum Diary, which is where she met Johnny Depp.
Johnny and Amber's relationship became more serious in 2011 while on a press tour for The Rum Diary.
We did the first day of the press junket for The Rum Diary in Los Angeles. And right around then is when Miss Heard and I started to see each other here and there.
And now you have red lipstick. And we fell in love. And we're just traveling around talking about this movie that we did together, that we participated in together.
Johnny and Amber would get married in 2015.
Johnny Depp marries Amber Heard in February of 2015. He is madly in love with her. Well, a year later, It's May of 2016 when Amber not only files for divorce, but shows up to a Los Angeles courtroom to get a restraining order against Johnny.
Waiting outside the courthouse, the media, including TMZ, they'd been tipped off and told to make sure to capture a bruise on Amber's face. This would be the beginning of the allegations of physical abuse against Johnny Depp.
Stop. You guys, she showed a lot of courage.
Are you okay, Amber? You look upset.
It's not by any means a celebrity hotspot. We would only ever send people there if we had been tipped off that something was occurring and there was somebody present there.
There are no criminal charges at this point. The problem is whether there's charges or not, it doesn't make any difference because the general public sees this and all they see is wife beater. That's how Johnny Depp really starts down this path.
Johnny's career takes an extreme hit after all of this negative PR. I mean, the blogs are all talking about him. He's the bad guy. And while this is happening and he's trying to deal with this with his agents and managers, Amber's career is blowing up. She gets DC's Justice League, Aquaman. She's in this movie that everyone loved called The Danish Girl. So she's really becoming a star in her own right.
Coming up, Johnny and Amber face off in court.
I've never struck Miss Heard. I have never struck a woman in my life.
And this is horrible for me to sit here, relive everything.
We figured if he could tell his story, there was really a very small chance he could lose.
In December of 2018, Amber Heard's career was skyrocketing, while her ex-husband, Johnny Depp, was struggling ever since the allegations of domestic abuse.
Here comes the Me Too movement, which completely implodes the careers of people like Harvey Weinstein, Kevin Spacey, Matt Lauer. I mean, these guys are persona non grata. Somehow, Johnny Depp has escaped this kind of criticism, this cancellation, until Amber Heard publishes an op-ed in the Washington Post accusing someone of domestic violence.
So Amber Heard never uses his name. But does it even matter? Because everybody knows exactly what they're talking about. And this can kill a career.
The op-ed had immediate effects for Johnny Depp. Disney dropped him from the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, and he also lost his role in Warner Brothers' Fantastic Beasts.
I don't think it took Disney very long, maybe a couple of days, to announce that I had been removed from the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. It's very strange when one day you're Cinderella, so to speak, and then in 0.6 seconds you're Quasimodo.
Now, Johnny Depp acts swiftly when it comes to these accusations. He not only sues Amber Heard for this op-ed, but he sues The Sun in the UK, this tabloid, for a headline calling him a wife beater.
He didn't do this. I didn't believe that a man in his 50s wakes up one day and starts to abuse their partner.
In the summer of 2020, Johnny Depp would go to trial against the London, England tabloid paper The Sun. There were no cameras inside the courtroom, but the international media was there, along with loyal Johnny Depp fans.
The libel case at this court here in London centred around an article in the UK's biggest tabloid, The Sun newspaper, which claimed that Johnny Depp was, quote, a wife beater.
If you follow like Twitter and all the rest of social media, like it's just everywhere. Everyone's talking about it.
I feel like people feel like they know Johnny Depp because they have grown up or like seen him all over the screens and stuff, particularly in Pirates of the Caribbean. So I feel like people tend to feel like they have that invested interest in celebrities, even if they don't know them.
He has to prove that the Sun newspaper actually printed this and knew that it was false. And that's a very, very difficult bar to reach.
Amber Heard would take the stand in the UK, testifying over 4 days, describing in intimate detail the alleged abuse that she says she suffered over 3 years in her relationship with Johnny Depp.
She talks about Johnny cutting his finger in Australia and using the blood all over the walls to write these horrific messages. There's an incident on the stairs between Johnny, Amber, and Amber's sister Whitney. And we learned throughout this process that they are both documenting each other on their cell phones.
All I did was say sorry.
Did something happen to you? I don't think so.
We're talking about video. We're talking about other text messages, emails, and more. It starts to provide more support, more belief, more that says Johnny Depp really is as horrible as she claims that he is.
You know, that's the thing.
You want to see crazy? I'll give you crazy. That's crazy. Oh, you're crazy. Are you crazy?
Have you drunk this whole thing this morning?
Oh, you got this going. You got this going.
Let's burn Amber. Let's drown her before we burn her. 3 exclamation points. I will her burnt corpse afterwards to make sure she is dead.
In none of those texts was there any admission or suggestion that he had done any of these things.
In November of 2020, High Court Justice Andrew Nichol would rule that the allegations against Johnny Depp in the Sun's article were substantially true and that he believed that Amber Heard was indeed the victim of, quote, sustained and multiple assaults.
It has been incredibly painful to relive the breakup of my relationship, to have my motives, my truth questioned. You have given me so much strength, and I send it back to you. Thank you.
We were very disappointed in the judgment in the UK, but there were reasons why that happened.
Coming up, another courtroom showdown. This time, the cameras capture the drama between Johnny and Amber as the world watches.
Today is the first opportunity that I've been able to speak about this case.
Plus, the spectacle outside the courthouse.
We all agreed to a system, and it's these numbers here.
Now, back to the Court TV podcast.
I think that everyone is very interested to see whether the same outcome happens in America as it happened here.
In April of 2022, a year and a half after Johnny Depp lost his trial in the UK, he was back in a courtroom, this time in Virginia, suing his ex-wife, Amber Heard, for defamation. Depp claimed that a Washington Post op-ed in which Heard implied domestic violence had derailed Johnny Depp's acting career.
This was really the ultimate showdown. 2 people, 2 completely different versions of what was happening in that relationship. That means one thing: somebody's lying.
And this is a civil case, and it's a jury of 7. He has to convince that jury that she's a liar, and it destroyed his career. But let's be clear, they're trying to burn each other to the ground for the general public, so the world sees that this is a lie.
Johnny Depp's legal team consisted of Ben Chu, Camille Vasquez, and Jessica Myers.
This was a very personal lawsuit for him. You know, he wanted to go directly to the source. And the source of these lies, was Amber Heard.
His life was on the line, so we felt very strongly, and we felt strongly that he did not do anything remotely like this.
Because up until this point, it really had been Amber's story that was out in the world. And so we wanted him to be able to tell, you know, the world who he was.
Amber Heard was represented by seasoned civil attorneys Ben Rottenborn and the woman who was by Amber's side in the UK, Elaine Bredehoff.
I appreciate the dedication, the hard work, and support of the defense legal team, as well as my U.S. and UK lawyers.
Now, this case, different than the trial in the UK. In the UK, it was Johnny Depp versus the media. Here, it's Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard.
Are we ready with opening statements?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, go ahead, sir.
This is a case about the impact of Amber Heard's words on Johnny Depp. No one had ever in 5 decades accused Johnny Depp of being violent with a woman.
Mr. Rottenborn.
Mr. Depp's team is going to try to turn this case into a soap opera. If it had been Amber's intention to use this article to detail the abuse that she suffered, believe me, the article would have looked very, very different.
The opening statements set the table. And so what you're seeing right now is really the buildup to this massive fight on both sides. And both sides are going to use everything that they've got to take down the other.
The first witness to take the stand is Johnny Depp's sister, Christy Dombrowski. She told the jurors about the abuse that she and her brother Johnny suffered at the hands of their mother.
We started from the beginning, which was Johnny's sister. Who is Johnny Depp? Who was Johnny Depp before he became the person that we all know as Johnny Depp?
Did you ever observe your mother hitting Johnny?
Yes. He was a typical little boy where if it hurt, he would cry. For the most part, you just wanted to get away from it.
By Christy sharing a little bit about their childhood and Johnny's reaction to the abuse that they both sustained, started to paint a picture of who this person was many years later when he met Miss Heard and they had conflict.
We decided that once we left, once we had our own home, that we were never going to repeat ever anything similar in any way to our childhood.
This is the definition of a he said, she said. And for the jury, this is how they're going to make their decision. You've got to listen to the testimony of Johnny Depp, listen to the testimony of Amber Heard, and then decide, who do you believe?
All right. Your next witness? Your Honor, we call Mr. John C. Depp.
We figured if he could tell his story, and for once and for all, after 6 years, he can deny these allegations outright, and he can tell the story and help give the jury a reason why she would make this up. We thought that there was really a very small chance he could lose.
Good afternoon, Mr. Depp.
Good afternoon.
Can you please tell the jury why you're here today?
Today is the first opportunity that I've been able to speak about this case in full for the first time.
Now, why are you here? My ex-husband is suing me for an op-ed I wrote. I struggle to find the words to describe how painful this is. This is the most painful and difficult thing I've ever gone through, for sure.
She starts teasing him about a tattoo on his arm. It used to say Winona Forever. He was dating Winona Ryder at the time. He changed it to Wino Forever. Amber accuses him of slapping her.
Slapped me across the face. He said, "You think it's so funny? You think it's funny, bitch? You think you're a funny bitch?" And he slapped me again.
It didn't happen. I've never struck Miss Heard. Why would I take such great offense to someone making fun of a tattoo?
We start to see stories of abuse. And Amber describes an incident when they're flying on a private plane. And he describes Johnny, drunk, under the influence. And that's when he kicks her.
I am walking away from him slowly, and he tells me to hurry the up. I walk away from him. My back is turned to him, and I feel this boot in my back.
I knew that she was ready for some kind of brawl. She would verbally heckle, hassle. The one thing I learned, if you're gonna hide someplace from somebody, go straight into the bathroom.
The flight from Boston to Los Angeles, a big, big issue in this case. Now, you heard Johnny Depp's version, Amber Heard's version, but now the jury gets to hear the recording of what was actually happening. And as you listen, I mean, it's obvious to everyone that Johnny Depp is maybe a little inebriated.
That's your voice making those moaning sounds. Sound like an animal in pain, right, Mr. Depp?
That's exactly what I said before. Yes, that is sounds like a pained animal.
Let's go to my voice, please.
Mr. Depp, could you please explain to the jury the circumstances that led to you having the bruise that's reflected in this photograph?
Again, there was another confrontation, another where she was coming out, trying to get to me, trying to hit me. Whitney stepped in front of Amber, snuck in the roundhouse.
For the record, this is an audio recording.
I'm sorry that I didn't hit you across the face in a proper slap, but I was hitting you. It was not punching you. Babe, you're not punched.
Don't tell me what it feels like to be punched.
But you're fine. I did not hurt you. I did not punch you. I was hitting you.
How are you?
I'm not sitting here bitching about it, am I? You are. That's the difference between me and you. You're a baby.
Because you start...
You are such a baby. Grow the up, Johnny.
Physical fights.
When Amber talks about the Eastern Columbia building and this incident at the stairway, this is different than what we have seen before, because this isn't just an audio tape. There's actually an eyewitness, and then that eyewitness happens to be Amber's sister.
I'm facing Amber. He comes up behind me, strikes me in the back, kind of just somewhere over here. He strikes me in the back. I hear Amber shout, "Don't hit my sister." She smacks him, lands one.
But he had his hand on the back of my head, my hair, and kind of was yanking me down and hit me in the face with this cast he had.
These were two sisters that truly cared for one another and were going to support each other no matter what.
I hear Johnny's voice shouting, I hate you. I hate you both, you whores. And I hear crashing. I hear crashing and banging and smashing, and he starts screaming like an animal.
You see my little sister with her back to the staircase, and Johnny swings at her, and I don't even wait. I don't hesitate. I don't wait. I just, in my head, instantly think of Kate Moss and the stairs, and I swung at him.
One of Johnny Depp's most famous relationships is with supermodel Kate Moss. There was a story circulating that while they were dating, Depp pushed Kate down some stairs while they were on vacation together.
So as Amber Heard is describing her version of the staircase incident, she drops Kate Moss's name. And the moment she does that, you look at Ben Chu and his reaction. Oh my goodness, nobody could be happier. It's like a kid on Christmas morning, because now Kate Moss has been invited to the party.
I lost my composure for a moment and did a fist bump because I knew that that was not going to be corroborated by Ms. Moss.
When Ben, did the fist pump all around the world, we didn't have her committed.
Kate Moss doesn't even make it to Virginia. She doesn't make it to the courtroom. She appears via Zoom, and the testimony is only about 10 minutes. But wow, you talk about an impact in just 10 minutes.
And there had been a rainstorm, and as I left the room, I slid down the stairs, and I hurt my back. He came running back to help me. He never pushed me, kicked me, or threw me down any stairs.
Unfortunately, Ms. Moss, who had never testified in any proceeding, came forward affirmatively to say that that was not the case.
Coming up, a bizarre allegation.
And on my side of the bed was human fecal matter.
Plus, two completely different versions of what happened in Australia.
I'm looking at him in his eyes, and I don't see him anymore. I don't see him anymore. It wasn't him. It was black.
The judge had issued an order where I, as the pool photographer, wasn't allowed to speak to Johnny or Amber.
Good morning, sir.
Once he realized that, he would make any joke he could to at least get some sort of response out of me.
It's not meeting like this, people will talk, Seen you before somewhere. It's alpaca day. I just made breakfast for all of them this morning.
Morning,
waffles.
Good morning.
Since people are talking anyway, I brought this for you.
A quarter of a way through the trial, it was obvious that Johnny just had a huge support base.
All relatives.
The jeers aimed at Amber just got progressively worse as that went on for her.
All right.
By week 2 of Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard, the crowds outside the courthouse in Fairfax, Virginia were steadily growing, while the jurors inside the courtroom were hearing evidence and trying to decide who to believe in this he said, she said case of domestic abuse.
In December of 2015, there is a really nasty, according to Amber, altercation between her and Johnny Depp, where Johnny headbutts her and pulls huge chunks out of her head. And she was pretty upset over this because the next night, she had an interview with James Corden on CBS.
And he balled up his fists, leaned back, and headbutted me square in the nose. I went down to the floor. I remember being on top of me, and he's screaming and swinging at me while I was on the floor. He had me by the hair and dragged me. He wrestled me down, kind of trying to hold me down with his knee on my back. And he's punching me repeatedly. And I don't remember even feeling the pain. I just remember the sound of Johnny's voice. He got next to my ear and he was screaming over and over and over again, "I f***ing hate you. I hate you. I hate you." I thought, this is how I die. He's gonna kill me now. I thought I probably had a concussion and certainly thought I had a broken nose. There was blood everywhere.
Amber described a really awful fight where her hair gets pulled out, and she says she got headbutted by Johnny. She thought her nose was broken. Now, Johnny Depp never really had to address this at all because he had Camille Vasquez, who, on cross-examination, goes after Amber by using James Corden as sort of the proof that nothing really happened. The next day, she's on his show.
You appeared on the James Corden show the day after this alleged incident, right?
I did.
These are pictures of you on the James Corden show on December 16th, 2015, right, Ms. Heard?
They look like freeze frames, like screen grabs. Yes.
So you had a split lip when you were
sure
moving
did.
your mouth that way?
I sure did.
In those photographs?
Absolutely.
We really focused on the big lies and exposing her to be untruthful.
This is one of the first cracks you start to see in her testimony from herself. That starts to change how I think this jury of 7 starts to look at her. And I think if we go bigger than the courtroom, this is when you start seeing even more from the public, where the public is starting to say, wait a second, that makes no sense.
My dog stepped on a bee.
My child spilled my tea.
I'm right next to Key. And I was walking out of the bedroom, slapped me across the face. I turned to look at him. And I said, "Johnny, you hit me. You just hit me."
One of the most infamous moments from the trial is when Johnny tells this crazy story about Amber Heard leaving a surprise for him in his bed. This creates the hashtag AmberTurd.
My dog stepped on a bee.
He showed me a photograph. It was human fecal matter.
Please state your name. It's Amber Laura Heard.
I had received some news that was as absurd and grotesque, and then I was shown a picture of what the problem was.
What was the photograph of, Mr. Depp?
It was a photograph of the bed, our bed, and on my side of the bed was human fecal matter. They were making a wonderful point of just how funny it was that I thought that some human being had actually dropped a grumpy.
Coming up, Amber breaks down on the stand telling the jury her story of sexual abuse in Australia.
I've never been so scared in my life. It was black. I couldn't see him.
Plus, the crowd builds as the case comes to a close.
She guided us through the maze and the brutality and the killing.
say, captain goes down with the ship, and if he goes down, we're going with him.
I don't know, it just kind of sucks to see him like have all this downfall from this, and then there's actual evidence that Amber actually was the one that did a lot of it.
You can just like see that he's innocent, but like when you look at her, you can kind of see like the evil in her eyes.
I came out to support Amber because there's two sides to every story. It's sad like how like she's perceived this way.
We have serial killers that get better treatment than Amber Heard.
By May of 2022, the trial was in its third week, and jurors continued to hear competing stories of alleged abuse. The most disturbing allegation took place in Australia while Johnny Depp was filming another Pirates of the Caribbean movie.
He's filming the 5th Pirates of the Caribbean movie. Him and Amber have only been married a month by now, but Amber claims that this is when one of the nastiest and most vicious fights takes place.
What did Miss Heard tell you she was upset about when she arrived in Australia?
And she could not let go of the fact that I was in on this post-nup agreement. I had been sober for many, many months. I left the room that I was hiding, went downstairs. I went behind the bar. I grabbed a bottle of vodka that was there, and I poured myself 2 or 3 stiff shots of the vodka. Then she came down and, of course, started screaming, "Oh, you're drinking again, yeah, the monster," and all that. She walked up to me and reached and grabbed the bottle of vodka, and then just kind of stood back and then hurled it at me, and it made contact and shattered. And then I looked down and realized that the tip of my finger had been severed. Being in the middle of some sort of nervous breakdown, I started to write with my blood, in my own blood, little reminders from our past that represented lies that she had told me and lies that I had caught her in.
When the stories moved to Australia, they became completely different. They were different for both sides, and what happened was it was so incredibly disturbing, both on the side of Amber Heard and on the side of Johnny Depp. But the problem is that you have to believe one or the other. It couldn't be both.
I thought, okay, I'll get a lawyer and let's do a post-nup. He went outside and called my divorce attorney and fired her and said the only way out of this was death. He was just belligerent. I don't know how the next part of the violence actually even initiated, but again, he has me up against the wall, and I remember this time he slams me up against the wall hard, throws me across the room. I land on a games table. He gets on top of me and is just whacking me in the face. Picks up the phone and starts bashing the phone against the wall where I was just being held. At some point, he's on top of me. I'm looking at it in his eyes, and I don't see him anymore. I don't see him anymore. It wasn't him, it was black. I've never been so scared in my life. It was black. I couldn't see him. The next thing I remember, I was bent over backwards on the bar, meaning my chest was up. I was staring at the blue lights and my back was on the countertops. I just saw his arm. I could feel his arm moving, and it looked like he was punching me. I didn't know if the bottle that he had inside me was broken. I couldn't feel it. I didn't feel pain.
So he penetrates you with this bottle. But you don't know how he got the bottle, right?
That is correct.
And he did that right after he lost the tip of his right middle finger.
Again, I don't remember the exact sequence of those events.
There was no way to be able to predict what she was going to say during the Virginia trial. And so we had to focus on the big lies and say to the jury at the end, if she's willing to lie about a rape, she's willing to lie about anything.
And you testified that you bled as a result of this sexual assault, correct?
That is correct.
All right. And you testified that your forearms were cut.
My forearms and my feet.
And your feet were sliced up.
That's correct.
And you testified you had a bruise across your jaw.
That is correct.
And there is not a single medical record reflecting treatment for any of those injuries, is there, Ms. Heard?
I didn't seek treatment.
The cross-examination of Ms. Heard that was done, I believe, beautifully by Camille Vasquez was not intended to demonize her. It really was predicated on her own words. So the cross-examination was based on statements that Ms. Heard had made and presenting her with some audios that she herself had made and really asking for her explanation. I don't think that's demonization. I think that's cross-examination.
We cannot work it out if you run away to the bathroom every time.
Listen to me. Listen to me. The boxer can't go 12 rounds without a minute break.
I'm not giving you a minute break. You do it at minute 3 at the beginning of an argument.
No. I split again. I go to another bathroom or a bedroom or something. Knock, 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 bang, bang, bang. You kept coming to get me.
This is what really happened in Australia, isn't it, Ms. Heard?
I did knock on a bathroom door on the first night.
Not a bathroom door, 5 bathroom doors and 2 bedrooms.
Johnny is not an accurate historian of what happened during
Ms. Heard,
that period of time. I'll guarantee
Ms. Heard, that's not my question. That night in Australia, after you cut off his finger with a bottle, you weren't scared of him at all, were you?
This is a man who tried to kill me. Of course it's scary. He's also my husband.
This is one of the struggles that this jury of 7 has, because they have to reject one in order to accept the other. And this is where you start to see this jury start to waver.
The person that ended up in the hospital after Australia was Johnny Depp. The person with any injury was Johnny Depp. The only person with medical records in this case was Johnny Depp. It was a violent relationship, except she was the aggressor.
Coming up, the verdict and chaos as fans try to get a seat in the courtroom for the final days.
I think somebody intervened to make sure to keep me out of the courthouse.
Now, back to the Court TV podcast.
I touched Johnny Depp's hand. I was really lucky.
I come from a little village in France called Plan de la Tour, which is the same town as Johnny Depp's house.
I'm originally from India. It's just been a month here. This is my American adventure.
She accepted $4,000 and a wristband of my own to relinquish her place in spot. I think somebody intervened to make sure to keep me out of the courthouse.
As the crowds got bigger, the tension started to grow outside the courthouse. A lot of competition to get inside. They tried to create their own set of rules, but it fell into chaos and things got a little ugly.
We're like Squid Games today. She's our life coach, and she guided us through the maze and the brutality.
We had a system for the number who come early gets a number stickers, and we know that there's a limit of 100 people. So we came as early as 7 o'clock. People coming after the numbers, they're kind of not appreciating the fact that they are not going to get in.
It was surreal and circus-like. I mean, really with animals.
There's been a multiplication out there.
I think in the courtroom, Judge Escarati did a fantastic job of keeping order.
Hi, good morning. Good morning.
After 6 weeks of testimony, it was time for both sides to present
closing arguments.
Their closing argument.
She gave the performance of her life, telling you story after story of abuse. And not just any abuse, but extravagant, over-the-top allegations of abuse that would be truly brutal, horrific, if true. You either believe all of it, or you believe none of it. You can't find that Mr. Depp hit her once. Either he hit her countless times, or you can't believe a single word that comes out of her mouth.
Mr. Rottenborn?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Think about the message that Mr. Depp and his attorneys are sending to Amber, and by extension to every victim of domestic abuse everywhere. If you didn't take pictures, it didn't happen. If you did take pictures, they're fake. If you didn't tell your friends, you're lying. And if you did tell your friends, they're part of the hoax. If you didn't seek medical treatment, you weren't injured. If you did seek medical treatment, you're crazy. Ladies and gentlemen, let me be very clear. If Amber was abused by Mr. Depp even one time, then she wins.
It's been a 6-week trial, and this jury of 7 has to decide who's telling the truth. This is not a criminal case. This is a defamation case, but even more importantly, this is a public relations case. This is about trying to convince not just 7 people, but the whole world that you're the victim and that the other person is the perpetrator.
The remaining jurors can retire now to the jury room to begin their deliberations, okay? So thank you all.
5 men, 2 women on this jury, and over the course of 13 hours, they're deliberating over 3 different days. Everybody was anticipating, what is this jury going to say? Johnny Depp's not even in town. He's playing music overseas somewhere, but it doesn't matter. This was the moment where everyone was going to stop and watch and see what this jury was going to deliver.
All right, Mr. Foreperson, is this the verdict of the jury?
Yes.
We were all holding each other's hands under the table, and we're just, oh my gosh.
Do you find that Mr. Depp has proven all the elements of defamation? Answer, yes.
When the verdict came in, our hearts were in our throats. We were hopeful, but not presumptuous, so we were really sweating it out.
Do you find that Mr. Depp has proven, by clear and convincing evidence, that Ms. Heard acted with actual malice? Answer, yes.
I believe that he was in a pub watching it, and we couldn't share that moment with him, but we did FaceTime him, and he looked like the weight of the world was off of his shoulders. And
I think it means everything to him. And it means everything to his children. He did this for his children and to protect his legacy and their legacy.
Today's verdict confirms what we have said from the beginning, that the claims against Johnny Depp are defamatory and unsupported by any evidence.
We are also most pleased that the trial has resonated for so many people in the public who value truth and justice. Thank you.
This is a case where there was an allegation. It was taken seriously. Both parties got to have their day in court to adjudicate it, and that's justice.
I think that the system worked. She just didn't get the outcome she had hoped for. She had her day in court. She had her opportunity to tell her truth. The jury didn't believe her.
I think that justice was definitely served for Johnny.
I think that there was justice for Johnny Depp today, and I feel really happy.
I really think it was sensationalized, and it also shows just, how it could really affect women who might have been battered and abused. And if it's a powerful man who are loved on camera, this is really the result. And so I'm a little disturbed by it, I guess.
I hope that it sends the message that words matter, and that at the end of the day, all we have is our name, and that deserves to be protected.
The Washington Post amended the online version of Heard's op-ed, and both Johnny Depp and Amber Heard reached a settlement, dropping their appeals. Heard moved to Spain with her daughter after the trial. Johnny Depp hasn't quite regained the success of his earlier years, but still finds work as a director and is starring in a movie with Heard's former Aquaman co-star, Jason Momoa. I'm Ted Rollins. Thanks for watching Victim to Verdict.
This podcast is a production of Court TV. Go to courttv.com for more content, trials on demand, and to find out how to watch Court TV in your area.